Salvador Sanchez versus Prince Naseem Hamed, going out to Castulo S. I hope I said that right. Let's get into it. This is an interesting fight at featherweight with so many variables to consider. I believe the Prince was everything we could ask for from a fighter. Very entertaining and a true showman. He had great upper body movement. He was a pure power puncher, could throw all sorts of punches from all sorts of angles. And I will say, respectfully, this is a compliment, that the Prince was truly a freak of nature in there. Great counter puncher, could catch you at any time from those angles to where he would throw his punches from. Very dangerous fighter. Now, the Prince was no defensive wizard. He fought with his hands down a lot. He got caught quite often, more often than he should have, although to be fair, every fighter gets hit. But the Prince was off balance a lot, and that could definitely work against him in this fight with Sanchez. Salvador Sanchez was just a fighting machine, plain and simple. Had a good snapping jab, threw great combinations, went upstairs, went downstairs to the body. He was just so explosive and put on a lot of pressure. Salvador Sanchez could possibly run into a big counter punch from the Prince. And we know for certain that the Prince had dynamic one-punch knockout power. They were both tremendous, explosive, hard-hitting featherweights, which is why this is such a great fight. And I can only imagine how this fight would play out. Don't get caught up in the nostalgia. These guys are evenly matched, and this will be a hard fight for Sanchez and vice versa. The one-punch knockout power of the Prince is definitely a factor, and it's a huge factor. He could end the fight with one punch against anyone, in my opinion. Salvador Sanchez was just so fierce, dangerous, and explosive. And for all of the Prince's power, I don't think that Salvador Sanchez would back down. And I don't think he would hit Sanchez with anything so devastating to make him back off. I really think this fight comes down to heart and determination. Big ups to both guys. Great featherweights of their respective times. But I'm going to have to go with Salvador Sanchez by decision. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Well, it's apparent that Sylvester Stallone is a big fan of Tyson Fury. He either said that Tyson Fury was amongst the greatest fighters in the history of boxing, or that he was the greatest fighter in the history of boxing. And I have some thoughts about that. Now, if you've seen enough of my videos, I often have unpopular opinions myself. I tend to go against the grain when it comes to nostalgia, and I try to give every fighter his or her just due, regardless of the eras they fought in. I just do my best to try to be fair to every fighter. Even if I'm not a particular fan of that fighter, I just try to look at it from all angles and make the best assessment possible. Now, this type of thing tends to ruffle a lot of feathers and make people upset, because a lot of people feel, or a lot of fans feel, that current fighters shouldn't be bestowed such an honor because they haven't proven themselves like past fighters. And that's fair. They're not wrong in every instance. But a lot of times when I'm doing these fantasy fights, I always go with the style, and I always say styles makes fights regardless of the era you fought in. No, I'm not saying the eras are totally irrelevant, but at the end of the day, there's just two guys in the ring. So as far as Sly Stallone's comments about Tyson Fury, do I agree with them or do I disagree? And I will say, I don't want to get myself in trouble here. I will say that he's not that far off base for a few reasons. Number one, look at the size of Fury. Number two, look at the skills of Fury. Number three, look at the way Fury moves for a guy his size. The footwork, the hand speed, the ability to throw every punch, the toughness, the ring IQ. And Tyson Fury is one of the biggest heavyweights in the history of the sport. And that size is significant. And I myself truly believe that Tyson Fury could have competed in any era. That includes the 90s, that includes the 70s, 60s, 50s. You get the point. So, and I'm always harping on nostalgia for good reason. But if we put the nostalgia aside and all of the emotions and look at it objectively, as hard as it may be, just try to look at it objectively. Does Sylvester Stallone, aka Rocky, does he have a point or does he not have a point? Looking at it objectively, strictly as a boxing fan and strictly as an analyst, is he wrong? Could Tyson Fury have beaten the likes of Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali? I'll throw Holyfield in there. I'll throw Joe Frazier in there. Could Tyson Fury have beaten those guys, or at the least compete with those guys? And I'm going to let you think about that. I'm not going to answer that question. But my only point in this video is, it's very possible Tyson Fury wins those fights. Ooh, that's going to get me into so much trouble. But I've got to be real. I've got a responsibility to be objective and to be real. And that's not to take anything away from our legends, from our heroes. They'll always be our legends and heroes, regardless of the results of any fight. In these days, we get too caught up in records. Win, lose, or draw. Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, Evander Holyfield, Larry Holmes. I could go on and on. Their legacies are sealed no matter what. There's not anything we could do to discredit those guys at this point. Anyone who attempts to discredit those guys off of this undefeated obsession, I mean, just stop. Just stop. But when we strictly think inside of the ring, or strictly inside of the ring, what would happen inside of the square circle between two guys? The resume can't fight for you. The record can't fight for you. It's just you and the other guy. I truly believe with Tyson Fury's size, his skills, his movement, the other things I mentioned, that he has a shot, a legitimate shot at beating any of those guys. And if you're honest, you know I'm right. You know Sly is right. So I'm going to be careful here. I'm not going to go as far as to say he definitely beats those guys, but the possibilities are there. I don't care how much you love or hate Tyson Fury. I don't care how much his personality or his antics irk you. We're not talking about that. This is not a popularity contest. This is a boxing contest. So we have to judge this not off of our feelings, not off of how much we may love Tyson Fury versus how much we hate Tyson Fury. You don't bring any of that into the ring. None of that is present in the ring. Imagine saying, well, Tyson Fury is simply going to lose because I hate him. Come on, let's be reasonable. But Sly is not too far off base. He really isn't. And I've heard fans go in on him. They went in on Sly saying he's just a movie boxer, he's just an actor, he's not a real boxer, yada yada. And I'll give you that, but he's a fan. He's a longtime fan. And he knows a little something about boxing. I mean, spending all that time with the likes of fighters like Ernie Shavers and other fighters, it escapes me. I know he spent some time with some other fighters, but you mean to tell me he didn't learn anything about boxing, that he can't comment or talk boxing at all? Come on, people. Let's get out of our feelings and let's be objective. That's all. If you like the channel, please share, promote, and subscribe. I would really appreciate it.